Hello, my friends. Welcome to another edition of In the Spirit, heard here in WRPI Troy. Every Thursday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm your host, Gary Goldberg, and I'm very excited about today's show, especially our first guests, Linda and Charlie Bloom. I just was speaking with them both off air, and I told them that this was my project yesterday. I read it, the whole book. And it was something I couldn't put down. Once I started reading it, I realized, oh my, I have to read it all the way through because this is a story you want to see how it unfolds. And it's written. Let me just share it this way. Linda and Charlie Bloom are both professional relationship counselors and seminar leaders, but it has not insulated them from the same difficulties that their clients and students experience in everyday life. And in this book, their fourth book, That Which Doesn't Kill Us, How One Couple Got Stronger at the Broken Places, put out by Sacred Life Publishers. It's the story of the Bloom's journey through a series of ordeals, reveals how they managed to reconstruct their relationship from the ashes of their broken dreams. It is both inspiring and instructive, demonstrating to the reader the power of true commitment in the face of great odds and enormous obstacles. Presented in chapters that are written alternately in each of their voices, Linda and Charlie offer the reader an extraordinary window into their interior and interpersonal experiences. And despite the occurrence of frequent setbacks, they eloquently and poignantly manage to fulfill the demands of the recovery process. It may best be described in the words of one of the book's dozen-plus endorsers, Bernie Siegel, author of the best-selling Love, Medicine, and Miracles. The Blooms have found the solution to learning from and becoming stronger due to life's difficulties. Let them become your coaches through this book. And again, I'm just so happy to, I tell everybody about this book already. As I started, I can't help but keep on talking about it, but this is about them. Linda Bloom, LCSW, and Charlie Bloom, MSW, have been assisting individuals, couples, and organizations in the process of enhancing the quality of their relationships since 1975. The founders and co-directors of Bloom Work, they have lectured and taught seminars on relationships since 1986 to thousands of people throughout the United States and in many other countries. The Blooms are regular presenters at the Esalen Institute, the Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health, 1440 Multiversity, and Rancho La Puerta. They have also served as adjunct faculty members and lecturers at the California Institute of Integral Studies, the Institute of Imaginal Studies, the California School of, instead of reading all these, they've been married, they've done a lot of work. Omega's another one that's around here in WRPI land. Charlie and Linda Bloom have been married since 1972. They live in Northern California. They are parents of two grown children, Jesse and Sarah, grandparents of others. Contact information and much more about Charlie and Linda and the work is available on their website, bloomwork.com, bloomwork.com. Linda and Charlie Bloom, thank you so much for being with us today. I so appreciate what your work and what you have done. I don't know whether we've done any radio in the past, have we?
I don't think so. I think it's the very first one, and I'm delighted to be here with you, Gary.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much. I feel you really, people that read this book are in for a real treat. It's a treat in a way that if you really want to grow in your relationships and you want to grow and all life is really relationships. I mean, it's a relationship with yourself. It's a relationship with your significant other. But when you have one person, a significant other, relationships change. They change through circumstances, and each individual is not exactly alike. You know, obviously we have our own uniqueness, and first of all, right off the top, I really applaud that you take us down this road of your journey with a complete nakedness. I mean, I never read anything like this where it feels so raw and real.
Well, thank you, Gary. It is pretty raw, and one of the reasons for that is that although we're writing about a 10-year period of time in our relationship that occurred between 1982 and 1992, the first draft of this book was actually written in 1992, when it was very, very fresh for us. And what you have read is a many times edited version of it, but the rawness of what we were experiencing then, I think, comes through in the pages. And we had written it with the hopes that we could kind of normalize some of the challenges that most couples inevitably go through in some form. Because one of the difficulties that a lot of couples have is that when they go through some of these things, because we don't talk about them for fear of being embarrassed or ashamed, there's this illusion that we are uniquely defective because we're having these issues come up and we're having these feelings and we're doing these crazy things, and that we're alone in it. And since one of the main things that we teach in our seminars has to do with being in integrity with who you are and living authentically, and we decided that we needed to give an example of what that can look like. So I'm very grateful that you were able to appreciate what what that can mean.
Linda, do you want to say something?
Yes, I just feel like it's become a cornerstone of our teaching, because we found out the hard way that being transparent and being naked and raw and open, particularly in the midst of difficulty, is a way in which to make yourself vulnerable to be met by the other person. And as you can tell in the story, we struggled. It was difficult enough that we had so many separations, with Charlie flying all over the country and Canada for his corporate responsibilities and commitments. It was hard enough that we were separated during a time when the children were so small. But on top of that, we inadvertently aggravated the situation because the little time that we did have together, we spent a lot of it fighting with each other. And I was loaded for bear, and I was angry, and I was out to shame him and blame him and make him wrong and try to manipulate him into quitting that corporate job. And it wasn't until, halfway or more than halfway through the ordeal, which lasted 5 years, that I realized that I needed to lay down my sword and shield and take off my armor and stop trying to be a combatant that I just couldn't win at that game. And the only way that I was going to have any sweet, loving, romantic, connected, intimate time with him was to get that armor off and bring my heart, my lonely heart, to him, my frightened heart to him, and to invite him to be close to me in the precious little time that we had. And we learned how to make every minute count when we got to get together, and then he was back to the airport and flying off to teach another course for a week. And we would have 1 day a week where we could fill up, I especially needed to fill up my soul tank because I'm such a connector, and that would allow me to get through one more week.
I thank you for sharing. A friend of mine, Bernie Siegel, who's been on this program, I say friend because he's a truly, truly beautiful man, and he shares so much from the heart, and he shared a lot about his relationship with his wife on Facebook, as a friend, and it reminds me how touching that is when people do that, especially people that are so-called famous, that they let themselves be open and even ask, ask questions of the Facebook friends about certain things and get have people be connected to what he's going through. That we're really it shows me that we're really not we're not meant to be alone. We're meant to share our experiences.
Yeah, we are, and unfortunately, we live in a culture that doesn't value that to the degree that it really needs to be valued. If people really could appreciate, when they can appreciate just what it can mean in terms of enhancement of the quality of your life, to be in a relationship with somebody where there's that level of commitment to each other's well-being, and at the same time, a commitment to being responsible for your own well-being. If people could really see what that can mean in terms of how it impacts on every single aspect of your life, I think that what we would see more of in our country is I think that we would see more people who are happy and fulfilled and at peace with themselves and living in gratitude, rather than so much envy and frustration and unfulfilled desires and resentment. We're not living in accordance with our true nature, which is that we are interdependent beings. And when we can accept that and really live in accordance with that, then our lives transform.
Thank you, Charlie.
That's what we really wanted to convey to the readers of our book. And by the way, that is not an easy process to succeed in. And our book is a testament to some examples of some of the things you've got to be willing to experience, and what the possibilities might be in encountering those challenges.
I want to bring up that, you're both, throughout this period of time, you were both professionals and had clients that you were seeing. Could you share with us what those professions were?
Well, we're both trained as psychotherapists, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I specialize in treating couples. And I had a big, thriving practice on the East Coast, and I gave that all up because I wanted to relocate to California, and I'm really glad that I did. But I got to California, and my life went to pieces pretty quickly, and so I left the field for the first 3 years that Charlie was a corporate guy. I didn't feel like I had any business, and it would be out of integrity for me to be counseling people on how to make their lives work when my life wasn't working at all. And so I went back to school and became a body worker, and I worked in a fancy spa for a few years until I really got my grounding back, and then I picked my counseling practice up again. And one of the things that I hurled at Charlie when I was furious with him is, you're out of integrity because you say you value family life and you say that you love me, but you're giving more time and attention to your job. And I just really think that that's dishonest, and I really lost faith. I lost confidence in his credibility because he was saying that marriage and family was the most important thing to him, but his actions didn't match his words when he was away from us so much. And I had a vision that we were going to be a happy family when he sat down at the dinner table with us every night, and he helped me to discipline the kids and keep them in line, and they were a wild bunch, and he coached Little League baseball, and we got some really good help. Stephen and Andrea Levine in a workshop nailed me to the wall, and they said, you really need to lighten up on your white-knuckle grip. You are so attached to what this marriage and family has to look like. And I was floored because I took him to that workshop to get fixed because it was so obvious to me that he was in the wrong. But that was a turning point for me because I really trusted them. And that's when I started to put my attention on myself and get my attention off of Charlie about what he was doing and not doing and saying and not saying and how many absences he had from the family. And I really grew a lot during that time and became a lot more responsible and used the opportunity of virtually being a single parent most of the time to become sturdier and stronger and more confident to make decisions about the children because Charlie wasn't available to discuss a lot of things with. And so looking back on it, I am grateful for the crisis. I tend to think that crises are underrated, but I would have done anything to avoid it. But I say if you can't avoid a crisis and you find yourself in a traumatic experience, mine it for the gold that's in there.
I thank you for that, and thank you, Linda, and Charlie. What did you put your psychotherapy practice on hold as you got deeper into this corporation?
Oh, I completely ended it. When we were living in Connecticut, we both had practices, and I was teaching part-time at the local college, and that life completely ended when we moved to the West Coast, and I was hired by a seminar company and trained to facilitate large workshops. And I didn't do any counseling after we moved, and never went to renew my license, and just basically got out of the field. Eventually, I did get after I left the company, and Linda and I started our own organization doing seminars. I did begin to do some more counseling, but I stopped for many years. I just stopped doing it altogether, and replaced that with my new craft, which was facilitating seminars.
It was one of the beliefs of the cult that we were involved with that therapy was a bunch of crap, that it was just a bunch of hand holders, and that they didn't really support people to cause change in their life.
I'm glad you mentioned that. This book, by the way, I believe for me, works on a number of levels. One of the levels it works on, and I can relate, I spoke with you previously off air about this a little, that what grabbed, you spell it out so well in the book, both of you actually, you're both involved in the beginning of this, and was that how an organization, and Linda, I'm glad you said it, I was going to ask you about it, called, how this worked for me is that there are that organizations that make you feel powerful and make you want to, but because of that, it has an intoxicating effect, because it pulls you in on that you really feel like you're doing something for the world, because that's sort of the basis of all these so-called cults, that the thing is, oh, forget it, your personal life doesn't matter, because you're being in the world and what you're doing is so much better, because you're helping so many people, you're helping the world, so it gives you like this false sense of power that your priorities change, and the family is no longer your relationships take a back seat.
And I did alienate a large number of my friends because I came on so strong trying to market the course and to get them enrolled in it. In one single course, I had enrolled 21 people. That was a personal triumph for me because I'm a recovering shy person, and I saw in my wild enthusiasm and conviction that I had a capability to be able to enroll large numbers of people, which really served us well after he resigned from the company and we started our own. But there was a time in the beginning where I was the wide-eyed zealot, and I completely bought the party line. And I did think it was a world-changing organization. I still have a debt of gratitude for a lot of the things that I learned there, but I did stick around long enough to be able to see the dark underbelly of the organization.
I want to share that, and like you, well, I'm not going to name the organization, but I remember getting involved, a number of years ago, in something. I was just checking things out. I was on vacation. I was on vacation, so I met some people. They said there's a meeting tonight. You want to go to it? And they were nice, and they were going to, again, world changing, and they had means in which you could meet them, you could find out more about yourself. And I thought, well, I'm curious. I'm always curious, like I am when I do this radio show. Obviously, I have all kinds of guests on the show, and I appreciate every one of them. Well, I went to this, and I started going. Getting more involved and meeting more people there, and before you know it, I started talking about it. My friends started getting involved, and they went off and joined, and then I realized after what it was about for me, and I recognized the danger in it. And by then, my friends had already gotten into it, and I felt, oh darn, there's nothing. They're in it. I got them involved, but it's not for me. But they kept on after me for a while, using people that I knew to say to draw me back in, and I know. These manipulative tactics go on in these organizations.
That's right.
Hello?
Yeah.
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're here.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, let me ask Charlie. So that even when you wanted to back off, Charlie, it was very, as long as you were involved, even part-time with this group, it still had you, right?
I would say that I was kind of possessed by the kind of the ethos of the organization even after I left. But that was the most difficult time for me, was recovering from what seemed to be almost like a trance that I was in while I was delivering the seminars that I was doing, and getting really inflated with the feeling of power that comes from being in that position and in that role, and the incredible deflation that occurs when you're no longer getting your ego fed by all of the power and attention. It's not something that I think people can leave without experiencing, minimally at least, a certain level of discomfort. And I think a lot of the people that I know who did eventually leave went through a similar adjustment to the one that I went through, which is very detailed. Some would say too much information in the book about what it felt like to go from being a hero to a zero, or what it felt like.
Well, I'm glad you did, because it really, I think of one of the things your book serves also as a cautionary tale, I think. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I hope it does. I hope that people can see it, read it, and see some of the dangers in being seduced by that kind of pleasure.
Thank you. I want to do a short station break, and we'll be right back with Linda and Charlie Bloom with us right now here on the radio. Here is our message.
This is Noam Chomsky, and you're listening to 91.5 M WRPI, Troy, New York, the Upstate Underground.
Yeah, Noam Chomsky. And here we are with Linda and Charlie Bloom. Their book, That Which Doesn't Kill Us, How One Couple Became Stronger in the Broken Places. And they've written a number of books, and they've been known for years, relationship. How would you, bloomwork.com, how do you describe your work and relationship counselors?
Well, we have a multifaceted approach. We do some traditional therapy where we meet with people once a week for an hour. We also both of us have large caseloads where we talk to people over the phone or else we Skype, because they can come from anywhere in the country because they often come from the books or from our workshops. And we have kind of an unusual offering where people do intensives with us, where they fly in from out of town and rent a car at the airport and stay in a bed and breakfast in Santa Cruz and come to our home, and we do a workshop individualized and tailored just for them for 1 or 2 days. And in addition to that, we teach at Esalen, and we teach at Kripalu, and we teach at Multiversity and other places around. And occasionally we take people on exotic trips to foreign lands.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, and tell us about some of the other books you've written.
Well, this is our fourth book, the one that we're talking about today. The first book that we wrote 13 years ago, came out in 2004. And it's called 101 Things I Wish I Knew When I Got Married. And that was a bestseller and kind of put us on the map. And that's a series of 101 one-liners and then little vignettes about each one of the things that we wanted to include in the book. And then the second book that we wrote was called The Secrets of Great Marriages. And that was a book that was in response to a lot of complaints that we heard from a lot of people who were very frustrated and disappointed in what they saw as kind of a deficiency in the quality of people that were available out there to have great relationships and, committed partnerships, and just didn't, kind of cynical and didn't believe that there was really much possibility of that happening for them. And so we took it upon ourselves to identify as many couples as we could that had, according to them and according to other people who were in a position to validate this, or people that we had known well enough to assess the quality of their relationships, that they had optimal, really exemplary relationships. And we interviewed over 50 couples and selected 27 of them to include their stories in what the qualities were that they were able to develop and bring to the relationship, and how they were able to create and sustain long-term committed partnerships. And that one was really fun to write because we got to interview some amazing people, and learn a tremendous amount in the process, too.
Wow, that's beautiful.
One more book that most recent, last year it came out, and it's called Happily Ever After, and 39 Other Myths About Love. And this book is about some of the myths that people believe about relationships that aren't necessarily true. So that's our literary history.
And now, That Which Doesn't Kill Us. Why don't you give us a couple lines about that, this current work?
Well, the thing that really motivated me to write this book is I started writing and journaling just for my own healing, to understand what the hell happened to us. How did this flower child that I married, this guitar-picking hippie that I didn't think was just going to, be so mad for power and status, what happened to him? For 12 years, we had this harmonious relationship. We were living in rural New England, and life was easy, and things can change in a moment. He got a job that really called forth another part of his personality I didn't even know was there. And who is that man swaggering around in the three-piece suit who thinks he's too good for me? Who is this person who was, I thought, such a high-integrity person who broke his agreement with me about mutually supporting each other's careers and raising the kids together? And I was in a state of shock, and I really had to remodel my whole way of thinking and write a whole new chart for commitment and develop qualities in myself that I thought were strong, but they needed to be even stronger, about patience and tolerance and self-discipline and courage, all kinds of strengths I needed to develop to rise to the occasion. And fortunately, they paid off because I hung in there. I tried to keep coming from love, even though I was disappointed and lonely and upset. And eventually, the breakdown that we lived in, chronic breakdown for years, chronic stress for me for years, ended up being a breakthrough instead of a break-up. And I'm very grateful that I hung in there. And I'm grateful to Charlie that he didn't quit, because it was really hell realms on and off for a while. But underneath all the disappointment and dissatisfaction and frustration, there was always a great love there. And there was a compatibility, and there were certain values that we held in common that held us together to get through the hell realms. And the descent that we went to, as deep as it was, when we came through on the other side and popped up, the moving up into the higher realms was even higher than the descent that we made. So we got really good help to hang in there from people in the graduating class ahead of us, and they gave us practical, useful guidance that held us in good stead so we didn't bust apart. I have a very deep debt of gratitude to those people that helped us, and I feel a strong impulse to pay it forward to other couples who are struggling, to see if they can't find a deeper love, a deeper commitment, and do their own work so that they can grow to be eligible for a great relationship. And of course, not every relationship deserves to be saved, but I see a lot of couples who give up easily because they don't really see that there are resources that they can help them, and that their deepest lessons may be embedded in this challenge.
You mentioned some of the people that were helpful. With Joseph Goldstein, was that one of them?
I admire his work, but it was Jack Kornfield.
Jack Kornfield.
Here on
sorry. Get those two mixed
And he
up.
was of enormous helpfulness to me because he taught me about mindfulness practice. And Stephen and Andrea Levine did a workshop with us in Brighton Bush, Oregon, where they told me you need to let go of your attachment to what you think your marriage has to look like and be more flexible and see if you can't be with what is. And Joyce and Barry Vassell were very helpful to me because they helped me to see that I had a choice about looking through eyes of appreciation and gratitude and change my dark glasses, looking at all his faults and how he was failing me, and choose to put the rose-colored glasses on because there were beautiful qualities that attracted me in the beginning, the reason that I had my kids with him, and the reason that I was continuing to hang in there because I see him as a decent and good man. And so we got tremendous help when we were in crisis, and I really want to be one of those people who is there for others who are in confusion and swamped by struggle so that they can see possibilities and really do their own work.
So what you've learned, and through your own work with people, and through your experiences with each other going through this, and having people like Jack Kornfield and the Levines and others, you could bring that their work that you've experienced that was helpful and bring that, pay it forward to other people, your clients, right?
Exactly.
Beautiful. And so you told me you're going to be back at Kripalu in January 2019?
Yeah, we come every January.
Tell us about these, and not just Kripalu, but when you do teach a weekend, or how long will it be? A couple days?
Yeah, usually when we do weekend workshops, it's Friday night and then all day Saturday and then Sunday morning. And that's usually the format that we use, and that's what we go by when we teach at Kripalu. We'll be there the weekend of January 18th and 19th next January.
And if people don't want to wait until January, they can come to California, because we've got a magnificent brand new facility, the newest personal growth workshop center in the country in our neighboring town of Scotts Valley, California. It's 1440 Multiversity, and we're going to be teaching there next month.
Well, that's great. And I know, a lot of people travel. I go to events, mostly I'm very involved in kirtan, call and response chanting, and I'm known in that area for helping to promote that, and I go to a number of events around the country, and I know that many of the people that I see at these are from all over the world. So there's if there is something you really want to go to take a plane there, it's not a big deal if you have the funds. I mean, it's something if you really want to do, you're going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's more convenient and cheaper if it is in your neighborhood. But when the motivation is high and you really are clear that this is something that's important to you, it's very often quite possible to put together the resources that you need to make it happen. And Linda and I are the two examples of many, many other people that we know who have literally had life-changing experiences in a workshop. Sometimes it's just a weekend workshop. It doesn't necessarily have to be something extended in time, but it can be life-changing. So we really are very firm believers in that modality of personal growth.
And Gary, I make myself available for people who are considering the possibility of doing a workshop with us at Esalen or at Kripalu or at Multiversity. I say, call me up. My phone number is on the website. You can call and talk to me. And I find that if people are motivated enough to call me, after getting to know me and getting to know more about the workshop is and how valuable it is, they usually come down off the fence, off of the side of signing up for it right away. So I'm telling your listenership that I'm accessible.
Right.
I love it when people call me and they're interested in making a stand for their personal growth and for their relationship to evolve. And we don't confine it to just couples. We have halves of pairs come, so if your partner's not interested, but you're welcome. And singles come, and they're learning a lot about relationship to, have a good skill set.
Good point.
And to enter the next time they get in a relationship fortified to have a great one.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head as far as this guy is concerned, because even though I was married and I relate a lot of what I did, a lot of the wrong things, I can see what I did. I mean, it's just like a laundry list of things I really did wrong, and I also had this thing. It's not about I'm not the one who's wrong, So I went through the various things. I blaming and all that. So I can see that the traps that you can fall into, even if you think you're on the right path. So you need to be aware now. Even though I'm not married now and I'm currently not in a relationship, I feel like it's for some reason that, or whatever reason, that I'm moving, that it feels like I'm preparing the ground to get in one. And I see the value, definitely the value in it, and I see myself opening up with women in ways that are intimate, warm, loving. And so I can see that something has whatever defense that I had to prevent me from getting close is not there anymore. And now,
great.
Yeah, and now I see. Now I'm not like really young. You know what I'm saying? And but I don't think that way. I think, in terms of age. I think in terms of what I need now, and I'm seeing that a partner would be really nice. A warm, loving, beautiful, creative relationship where love is the basis. And and it's funny because it's funny. I just the same day that I focused on your book, the same day I met this woman, which was yesterday, who I really feel a connection to, and she was for years the receptionist at my chiropractor's office, and then one day she wasn't there, and then she was coming back, and then I saw her, and we connected again, and and there's a feeling there of connectedness that this will continue, and there is, I've always had the sense that, oh, it'll never work out, forget about it. I just didn't I just didn't have any hope. Now I'm entering into a territory again, which I have not been involved in for years and years.
I'm hopeful that our book opened your heart up and that there was a receptivity there as a result of reading the book, that maybe there's a little magic between the two of you. Worth inquiring into it.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm kind of excited, I'm kind of excited because she did tell me, she really made it clear to me that she wanted to see me again. So that was really nice. I was like, wow.
Good news. One of the other the courses that Charlie and I teach together is about happiness. We teach something called the Art of Joyful Living, and the other one's called Thriving. So we've had to do a survey of all the positive psychology literature about happiness, and the researchers are consistent that where you get the biggest bang for your buck in your happiness and well-being is from your closest relationships. And the marriage advantage is huge. When it works, it really works to push you up into the higher realms of happiness.
When I was married, in the best of times, I felt that, and I know, I feel that, and I know, I how good that feels. Yeah, and it's beautiful. And in the best times during that marriage, it was really good. So I've had some success.
Good.
So I can draw on that, right?
Absolutely. You have a baseline for it, so you know what it feels like.
Yes, I do. It's not that I didn't have lady friends throughout that period up till now, but they've been few and far between. And they were closer together, like after the marriage. But then in later years, it got less and less, and I wasn't really even considering it. And then within a period of maybe the last year and a half or so, I don't know how long, I started warming up to it more and more, and I recognized the importance of it because I had been working on creating more love in my life, and being open and real with people, and I found that just a natural spontaneity was developing between me and my lady friends, and it was reciprocated, so that's where I'm at now, and I think what you're doing, your work is so valuable, and it when I read your book yesterday, it just reminded me how beautiful, and I really love relationship. I really do. I did a lot of my best work when I was married. I was doing healing work. I was a massage therapist. I was Oriental healing, macrobiotics. We created a center in which people came, and so together we were very creative. And I realized a partner is very valuable, very important for me, and something that I've been without for a long time, it seems.
And it's not rocket science, there's a technology. And to have good communication skills and practice them consistently, and to have good negotiation skills, to be able to choose to open our heart and to allow for emotional intimacy and let our innermost self be seen, and to invite our partner into a safe space to let their innermost self be seen. And to keep doing those work, taking care of self, care of other, care of self, care of other, brings us to a place where we hit that co-creative stage, and you've had that experience. So you get in the flow. Do you know that the synergy, you're so much better than the sum of your parts because you bring strengths and she brings strengths. And you complement each other, and you inspire each other. You sort of instigate daring because you can be the jumping off place to go out in the world and take risks, and then the safe haven to come back when things get difficult and you get restored. It's quite an awesome experience when you get it working for you. It's a lot of work, but it's so worth it.
I see yes, thank you, Linda. Linda and Charlie Bloom with us, the latest book, That Which Doesn't Kill Us, How One Couple Became Stronger at the Broken Places, bloomwork.com. That one of the good signs that I'm going in the right direction is that I'm feeling that, like with this person in specifically, because I'm considering that maybe we're going to continue on, is that it's where in the past, where it's been about me, now I'm just like caring about her. What can I do for her? What does she need? Not what she can do for me, but what can I do for her? And I say that's a good sign that I'm in that mode and want to give, to start off.
I think it's one of the first signs that a person is moving towards being me-ish to we-ish. And it's also one of the things that makes people very attractive to other people. It's when they really experience their genuine interest in their life and their genuine desire to contribute something of value to them. That's an almost irresistible trait to presence in a relationship. And, if you want to be more attractive to other people, then that's probably the most direct route to accomplishing that. And it's not something that you have to contrive. It's something that naturally happens, as you've probably noticed, when you begin to feel more at peace within your own life, more comfortable in your own skin.
Right.
And you naturally feel inclined to want to support and serve and connect with other people.
Oh, so good to hear. I'm so happy to be talking with you two today, and I also feel that life as you move into, as you let go into trying to control everything and realize that life is good for you and you are good for life, and just allow experience to unfold naturally. I've kind of been in that space, and just allow life to come and present itself to you without being, without aversion or neediness or greed or anything like that. I'm coming into this space where that life is just giving to me naturally, and it's just like a flow.
I call it being in the current.
Yeah.
Letting the current carrying you rather than trying to paddle upstream. It's so exhausting. It's post-midlife now, We have to be careful where we spend our life energy, and
That's
we
right.
have to use it in a very smart, strategic way. And
Yes.
so we want to be mindful and look for the signs, about how we're supposed to serve and who we're supposed to share our life with.
Yes.
And I think Charlie was really speaking quite eloquently a moment ago about this generosity of spirit, this impulse to contribute to other person.
Yeah.
It's enlightened self-interest, because when we see what we give, because of the spirit of reciprocity, comes back to us.
Yes.
Do you know that we're not less, we're more, because it starts to circulate and come around, and that's one of the ways that we stay in the flow.
Boy, I am so turned on right now.
Good.
I can't tell you, I'm so happy to be these things to talk about what we're talking about. It's so meaningful, and I'm thinking about also that the listeners too, that I sometimes feel that the best radio to do is just be like be totally honest, let yourself go, be real. People relate to that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of our major teachings in our class, to reveal rather than conceal and to express rather than repress. So we have to live that, or else the teaching is hollow. It would just be hypocrisy. So we got out there on the skinny branches, boy. We did a risky piece with, sharing this much raw material, but we're getting enormous feedback that people are deeply touched by it and inspired to use their broken places to become stronger.
Wow. This is a very profound piece of work, that's for sure. Again, the book is That Which Doesn't Kill Us, How One Couple Became Stronger in the Broken Places. Charlie and Linda Bloom wrote it. Bloomwork.com is their website. And I'm so happy that you were both able to do this radio show with me today. Thank you.
I'm so delighted that you invited us, Gary. I had a great time, and thank you for really getting me. It makes me feel so good to get gotten.
It's a beautiful thing. It really is, and I feel the same way. And because it doesn't always happen, and when it does happen, it feels great because we really do want people to see us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, well, thank you, Gary. I really appreciate your invitation to join you, and I look forward to maybe coming back again and doing another show with you. It's been great.
Let's do another show. Why not? Somewhere down the line. I don't always have, not all of my guests are about the work that you do, and I think, with your experience and expertise, et cetera, we could set up something, maybe have people send in questions and something like that,
Oh, great idea.
So, in fact, it is a great idea, and that's what I'm going to put out. Yeah, let's do it. Definitely do another show, and let's make this the ground, just the introduction, so to speak, and then we'll go off and those people that have tuned in today, I offer this to you, to send me your questions, and we can put a format together in which we could co-create together with our listeners. So that you can email in the spirit 2424 at yahoo.com if you would, and I'll announce that again later. But also, you want to directly involve yourself, right? With Linda and Charlie Bloom, you can go to the website and they'll be available to you for that. So bloomwork.com. Thank you, my friends, for being with us. So happy that we shared today.
Hooray.
Me too.
Yes.
To be continued.
To be continued. If you'd like to stay on the line, I'll speak with you off air, okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
מלמטה למעלה, מרכבות סתומות הולכות ומתגלגלות. כל נעימה עוד עולה ויורד.